Hello and welcome to what hopefully will be the first in a series of quite a few coding walkthroughs this semester. This particular walkthrough is for the first version of Delta V, the first official version, prototype 0.1. It's a prototype because the game hasn't really been built yet. We're just building mechanics at this point. It'll switch over to being full version 1 point whatever whenever we start actually building the environment for the game, because currently this bit's just a placeholder with a few testing asteroids just to test outer space maneuvering. So yeah, that's why it's called a prototype. And this is the first update, so what we've done is added a few minor mechanics and tested them out, essentially. So what I'm going to do in this video is just walk through what we've actually added and then the code and how that works and how it all comes together to make the mechanics and things like that. So, I should preface this by saying I do have a cough at the moment, so that may happen periodically. I can only apologise. Yep, on cue, there it is. So yeah, let me just walk you through what we've added in the first version of the game. Let's just scale this up so it doesn't look awful. There we go. So this is the Fortitude, the main ship of the game, which hopefully you already know about. If not, you can see my blog, which you should already have known about, otherwise you wouldn't be here viewing the video. But anyway, so this is the ship designed by Josh, and this will be the main thing that the player controls throughout the game. That and obviously the actual playable character who's currently inside the ship. Well, he isn't currently inside the ship in the prototype. In game, he's inside the ship. The actual playable character, the on-foot one, isn't added to the prototype yet. That'll be something we're going to do in the coming weeks. But yeah, so currently all that's in the game is the outer space, sands, gravity, that kind of thing. Outer space and moving asteroids. And in terms of mechanics, we've got moving around, thrusters, as you can see, firing here, and destruction, as well as reassembly. So if I hit this, bam, 2 bits of the ship have fallen off. And if you watch closely as well, if I fire the thrusters now, it starts rotating the ship because it's on the left hand side and the ship is out of balance. And then if we head this way, just activate the boosters. We head towards the rocket bit here. Click. There we go, it's back. Let's go back and get the radar as well. Boom. See? There we go. All back to normal. So yeah, if you're familiar with the prototypes of Delta V from last semester, you might notice quite a few similarities. That is because a lot of the code from them has been taken and just transferred over, like the movement code. Oh, we've lost all of it. The movement code for the ship has all been just taken from those prototypes, basically, to make things a bit easier. Right, we've got the satellite dish back. Let's go and get the gun. Got the gun. The gun that doesn't currently do anything. But yeah, so we've copied a bunch of the code just to make things easy. There's no point rewriting it, because it's going to be exactly the same. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So yeah, losing myself a bit now. Right, I've got to be careful because this is going to introduce a spin. A kind of maneuver so I can get down to the thruster down here. But yeah, so we've got the movement code from the previous semester, which has been tweaked and optimized a bit just to kind of make it a little easier and a little, better than the prototype movement. There we go, all back to normal. Oh, we've lost our asteroids. But yeah, so it's been refined and optimized, and we've also, of course, added the destruction and reassembly mechanics. So what I'll do, just in case you haven't seen the code from the previous semester or forgotten it or whatever, I'm going to walk through it again, just because this is meant to be a standalone series, so start from the beginning, really. So I'll walk through that again and then show you the mechanics in action once more afterwards. So this is the script for the camera that goes, as you might expect, on the main camera in the game right here. It's pretty simple, really. What it does first is calls the player game object, sets a vector3 called offset, and it starts a bool called ismap, and calls the camera as well. And we, even the start, we set the vector3 to the current transform position of the camera minus the player's current transformed position. The player being obviously the Fortitude, the ship. And then in order to get the camera to follow the player around as you fly around, in later update we just get transform position, which is the camera's transform position, equals the player's current position plus the offset. And all that basically does is it means as you're flying around, the camera moves with you. That's all it does. Pretty simple, but it gives us what we need. And then this bit up here, basically if you press the M key, it changes the orthographic size of the camera, which essentially zooms it out. That's what orthographic size means. And then sets this boolean to true, so that if you press M again, then it will set it to false and changes the camera size back to normal. And all that means, again, this is a bit of code taken from the previous semester's prototype code. You press M, means you can zoom out and see where you are. It's good for getting your bearings and perspective, basically. But yeah, so that's that script. Not too complicated, but as I say, it gets us what we need. And then we've got this script here, which is the main space navigation script. This essentially gives us the space maneuvering mechanics of the Fortitude. And as you can see, it's quite a lot bigger than the previous script, but it's actually pretty simple. So here we set a bunch of floats for various speeds, which I'll go through as they come up in the script, as well as game objects, the thrusters and the boosters, etc. So all of these ones get set active to false in start. Now all of these are basically the white bits, as you can see here. So things like this triangle, and these bits, they all get set active to false in the beginning of the game. And that's so basically they're not on. As you can see, they only turn on when I'm pressing the W key, or the A, or D key, or whatever, basically. And yeah, so that's just basically because we only want them to turn on when you're actually pressing the thrusters and moving about, which is something that then gets done here. Basically, if you press the W key, and if is boosting is true, is boosting is the boosting, well, fairly obviously the boosting function of the game. Again, I can't remember if I actually showed you that in the demonstration, so we'll go through it quickly here. So if you just move forward normally here, you move quite slowly. If I press R, I'm toggled the boosters. As you can see, there's 3 extra triangles in the thruster bit. Oops, just knocked that off. And you move a lot faster. You boost about, essentially. Press R, toggle them off. See, you're moving slower. Press R again, toggle them on. Yeah, booster thrusters, essentially, is pretty self-explanatory. And what this bit basically does here is, if is boosting is true, i.e. if you are boosting, if the booster thrusters are enabled, then set the booster thrusters active to true. Booster thrusters are these 3 things. If you're pressing W and you are boosting, then set them to true. If you are not boosting, then set them to false. And here we've got, so is left booster and is right booster destroyed basically means, are they disconnected? So as I'll quickly demonstrate here, we go forwards and smack into that. See, the left booster, is left booster destroyed, the boolean that I showed you earlier, is currently enabled because, well, it's gone. It's no longer attached to the ship. So that boolean would be true at that precise moment in time. And if it is true, then set that left main thrust, i.e. set this left triangle, this left bit of thrust. It is a placeholder asset at the moment, but you know, you can tell it's thrust. Set that to false. Otherwise, though, if it is attached, if is right booster destroyed or is left booster destroyed, is set to false because it's not destroyed because it's attached. Then if you press the W key, then it sets active, and basically means that if you press W, it will actually fire. Again, fire into that, get rid of that. See, if I'm pressing W, it's not, the left booster is not showing, and now the right booster is not showing because neither of them are attached. Yeah, it's basically logic, with booleans. It's quite complicated to talk about, but it's actually pretty simple, or at least I think so. I don't know, maybe I'm talking rubbish. And yeah, then it's just the opposite thing here. If you let go of the key, or the W key in this case, then set them to false. So that basically means that, again, this is pretty simple, but I'll explain it anyway. If holding it down, if I let go of the W key and you stop moving forward, then they turn off. And that's all it really means. And then with these ones here, the A and D keys, basically if you press the A and D key, then it sets the left thrusters and right thrusters true respectively. So those are these two triangles here. Pressing the A key, it activates that one. Pressing the D key, it activates that one. These are all essentially just visual prompts to show you that you're actually doing something. Forward thrusters are firing, so you're moving forwards here, and the right thruster is firing, and you're rotating the ship. It's just visual prompts to show you that that the ship is doing something and that your inputs are making a difference, basically. And yeah, so that's all there is to that bit. And then we've got a check destruction bit here. This is for the destruction mechanic, i.e. the ship falling apart. That mechanic is mainly called in the destruction script, which I'll go through in a minute. But there is a little bit of it called in here, and it's basically checking for booleans. So if the left booster, i.e. this one here, doesn't have a parent, then it's destroyed. That boolean is set to true, otherwise it's set to false. And it checks the same thing with the right hand, for the right hand booster here. And it basically says if the left booster is gone and the right booster is gone, then flight is disabled. That basically means you can't, this is something that's changed later on in the script, but if both of them are gone, then you can't move forwards with normal thrusters. You can obviously still use these thrusters here, but those are the boosters. They make you go really fast. The finer ones, the slower ones, these two, are disabled, basically. So yeah, there's that. That's what that does essentially. And then this basically checks to see if either one of them is false, i.e. if either left or the right booster is still attached, then flight isn't disabled because you can still move around with one booster. And then this is the actual flight element of the script here. And this bit here is a simple add torque that takes your input on the horizontal axis, i.e. the A and D keys, and times it by the rotation speed. And add torque basically adds a rotational force. So the horizontal axis being the A and D keys, if I hold A, it rotates the ship to the left. If I hold D, it rotates the ship to the right. Times the rotation speed, which we've set in the space navigation script here. It's currently set at 0.5. And that's what that does. It just gives you the ability to rotate the ship. Easy peasy, really. And then here, if you're pressing the W key and flight is not disabled, i.e. you've still got the boosters attached, then this adds a relative force times the flight speed, moves you upwards times the flight speed times time delta time. And that basically means it's just moving you forwards in real time, holding the W key. Yeah, add relative force basically means it moves you upwards relative to the ship. So depending on whether the ship's pointing, it'll move you forwards or upwards. Basically, it moves you in the direction of the nose of the ship no matter where it's pointing, essentially. See? Like so. Oh god. We've lost the thrusters. Yeah. But that's what that means, basically. It's, again, pretty simple stuff. And then with these two bits here, if either of the boosters are destroyed, like if the left booster is destroyed, then as you press W, not only will it push you forwards, but it will also start pushing you to the right. Well, actually, not push you to the left, won't it? Yeah. Because the left booster is destroyed, so this will push you to the right. And if the right booster is destroyed, then it will start pushing you to the left. This is basically to make it look like the ship is a little lopsided. It's a bit glitchy there, whoops. So yeah, as you can see, if you press W, it starts rotating you that way because it's out of balance. So you start rotating. It's meant to add just a little more difficulty to manoeuvring about if you've lost a thruster, essentially. And then down here we've got the boost mechanics. Basically, if you press the boost button and is boosting is false, i.e. currently not boosting, and flight is enabled, then it sets flight speed from 20, which it was set. It's set on start in the actual Unity editor. Yeah, set to 20 on start, and this sets it up to 200 basically. And then same thing with this here. If you press R and you are boosting, then it resets it back to 20. And this bit here, basically, it's a bit of a convoluted way of doing it. I've actually fixed this bit. This bit isn't in 0.2 update because it's a little bit of a convoluted way of doing it. But for now, I'll just go through it. And basically, this is what happens if you try to boost and is flight disabled is true, i.e. if you've lost both of the boosters. So yeah, if you attempt to boost and you've lost both of the boosters, then flight is disabled. Well, you can boost as normal, basically, set to 200, as it would be if you didn't lose your boosters. But if you try and use the normal speed, it won't let you. It says no, there's sets it to 0 because you can't use the finer thrusters because they're not attached. You've lost them. So that's basically what that does. And then update here just calls all of these separate functions that we've all called up here. So yeah, this space navigation script is basically a series of logic and booleans and is that true and is that false kind of thing. It's rather complex but simple. If that makes sense, probably doesn't, but it does to me. But yeah, moving on. And then this is the destruction script, the main heart of the falling apart and putting the ship back together bits. It's pretty simple, really. We'll start down here because it's easier. If the player if this script is put on each one of the 4 destructible bits. So, as you can see, on the right booster, left booster, antenna, and gun turret, each one of them has the destruction script attached. It makes it easier, basically, and it goes... So this script bit here goes, if any of those 4 bits collides with any object tagged space, and any object in space will be tagged as space. The asteroids are currently the only objects in the game, and they are tagged as space. If you collide with something tagged with space, then is hit, a boolean set up here, is set to true. And if is hit is set to true, then the object is no longer parented. So if it's a booster or whatever, it's no longer parented to the ship, so it separates itself because it's no longer parented. And this gives it a rigid body and sets the gravity scale of it to 0 in order to simulate the physics of space, because there's no gravity in space. Sets the timer to true, which is a float that we've started up here. And sets is lost boolean to true, because obviously you've lost it. And then finally sets is hit to false, because it's no longer being hit. The hit has already been carried out. And because the timing boolean is set to true, it starts the timer, which is basically just there's a couple of floats. It's basically a fancy way of just doing a timer, essentially. And then we've got a little float down here that goes, if the timer is greater than 10, which is basically greater than, if it's been going for more than 10 seconds, then timing is false. And the whole point of this timer bit here is to basically, when you're flying about and you hit something, bang, it's to stop the whatever it is you've lost immediately reattaching. Because basically nothing would happen. Let's show you again, bit of a better demonstration this time. Yeah, see, if there wasn't a timer saying it won't reattach for 10 seconds, then it would immediately reattach, and visually nothing would actually happen. Because the booster would disengage and then re-engage in like a split second, so you wouldn't see anything. So the timer basically gives it 10 seconds before it is reattachable, to give the player, to give it a few seconds of, oh look, it's actually gone, before you can remagnetize and attach it. That's essentially all that does. And then once those 10 seconds have passed, the Boolean timing is set to false. And then this bit here goes basically if the on-trigger circle collider rather, of any of these, if any of these circle colliders are in contact with the overall circle collider of the ship, as you can see, the circle collider of the player, and its timing is false, then whatever the piece is that you've lost is no longer lost, and it is in fact connected. It's connected, it's set to true, it's a Boolean here. And then this checks to see if both of these things are true, and if they are, then it sets the transform of whatever object it is, like a booster or whatever, to the player, so it reattaches itself to the player, and sets the position to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 on X, Y, and Z, basically. Sets it back to its original position, respective to the players, so a booster would be down here in the bottom right corner. Sets the rotation to 0, so it stops it spinning, and gets rid of the rigid body so it's not affected by things on its own anymore, because it doesn't need to be, and then resets the timer to 0, essentially resetting the whole script. The whole thing can then happen again if it collides again with a rock or whatever, it can fall off, and then after 10 seconds it is able to be reattached, provided it is within the trigger collider. So we'll just demonstrate that again, just to hammer it home. Go in, it's lost. And we've got to wait 10 seconds. 10 seconds is demonstration. I think it's actually a bit too long, so I'm going to change it for the next update, I think. Make it like 3 or 4 seconds instead. Oh, we've just missed it, come on. Alright, come into range, and there we go. Pop right back on. And that's essentially what this script does. Pretty simple stuff. Well, not simple, but easy enough to explain, because I wrote it. And then this is a really simple script attached to all the asteroids that basically gives them a rotation. Vector3.forward times the speed, and the variable speed is set depending on the asteroid. It's like with this asteroid, it's been set to -5, with this one 3, and with this one, where is it? 29. And then times that by time.delta time, and all that script really does, it's really simple, is it just rotates the asteroids to give them the impression that they are under some sort of gravitational pull, basically, to give the environment a bit of life, you know, make it more interesting. Oh, it's all gone wrong. Obviously they've got rigid bodies as well, so they can be pushed around by the ship. Gotta go get that back. Bang. Oh, I've lost it again. I've lost the gun. No, it's all gone wrong. But yeah, apologies for the length of this video. I've just realised it's 25 minutes long. Well, if you stuck with it, well done. But that's all the code for this first prototype. This has been quite a long video because obviously there's been quite a lot of code in this first one. But each update, which will be done probably weekly, because that's kind of how I like to do my development, weekly rollout updates. Each update will have a coding walkthrough, such as this one, as well as patch notes, so you can see what's different and what's changed. The patch notes for this update are already on the blog at time of speaking. And yeah, that is it. Prototype version 0.1 explained. Thank you for watching.